Gene Decode. Welcome back to the Tipping Point / Patriot Street Fighter. How are you, brother?
I'm doing good, Scott. How are you?
I'm fantastic, but I'll get better. Don't worry about me. I'm just glad to have you here, buddy.
Thank you. Great being back.
Say again?
Great being back.
Yeah, I was actually, there was a sort of an outside chance I was going to try to ambush you a couple days ago. I was making my trek back from up in Idaho, and I was going to take the route that took me through Denver, Colorado, and it was a coin toss because I needed a meeting with a guy in Vegas. So because I was so close, it ended up being that he was available, and I scooted south, and I didn't get a chance to swing through your backyard and try to lure you into a cup of coffee. But anyways, I thought about you, and this is the second best thing bringing you on tonight. So anyways, brother, I don't even know where to begin. The people love this information that you always seem to have in real intelligence on what's happening in this battle for Earth, and the winning score that seems to keep emerging. We had I haven't seen the last 4 or 5 days of information because I've been driving, but when you get to a place where John Bolton, a perennial the consummate deep state neocon war hawk, has his house raided, has his office raided. I mean, there's some serious shit going down out there right now. So can you give us your perspective on what you see happening in the evolution of this takedown?
Yes, that's just the beginning. It's the first obvious arrest in the arrest wars, which were in that part of the movie. So we are seeing the arrest, and he is guilty of treason. They did like they did at Mar-a-Lago. They set a precedent, the deep state. So, okay, the alliance and Trump can do the same thing. So they started with John Bolton, and they searched his house and found documents. And we have to say, allegedly, he was selling classified information to China.
He was selling it?
Yep, or sending it.
Sending it. Ooh, wow. He's a dead man. He's a dead man. He's a dead man.
Yep, in violation of confidentiality and classified information, treason against the United States. He's just the first. What Tulsi Gabbard has dropped on Obama, the Clintons, both of them, Hillary and Bill, and also Bill Gates and Zuckerberg were at dinner or a conference or whatever you want to call it with Trump, and that's all comms. One on the left, one on the right, next to his wife. And if you watch on Poppy Trumpo, and Trump has said, yes, that's him. It's a satirical channel, but he said, yeah, that's me. The comms on there, you have classified comms going out where Billy Gates is saying, I'm sorry about the virus and the gain of function and the geoengineering, geo-warfare on all of you and your sterility now, but there's too many people on the planet and all kind. That's comms. Yeah, it's satire, but that's comms.
Interesting. I'm glad you said that, because that's the reminder that even I need. I mean, the reminder all of us need, because in the very opening salvo on the Q drops, when we were trying to figure out, hey, what is this? What does this sensational information mean? Who's putting this out there? Is this real? Talking about, cross-border shutdowns in case Hillary tries to make a run for it, all these things. And one of the things they said multiple times was learn to read our comms. Learn to read our comms, because they don't communicate openly. They can't.
Yeah, exactly. And so the comms are that, they're, with what RFK is doing, and you can see already the laws in Florida that all vaccine mandates, not just one, all of them are gone in Florida. They've changed that. You don't have to get any vaccines anymore. There's no mandates at all. And that's what's coming. RFK is going after, Trump said, find out why the autism was so high. And now he's saying, find out what happened with the C-19 vaccines, because I'm upset if what I'm hearing is true. So all of this is coming out now. all of the truth. The Operation Warp Speed that he did, he will go and say that, which is, he was relying on what they told him. Like many people who got mandated or forced or volunteered to take the jab, they're going to have a lot of lawsuits coming at them now for the Pfizer and Moderna and all of these, because if what is true, Pfizer said, 75 years before they release all the contents, now that's out. That they have that information. Also, they have, with all Tulsi Gabbard have, they have all the information on the Obamas, Clinton, Brennan, Schiff, Comey, Schumer, all of them. So we're just in the beginning. And now with 500 JAG officers in D.C., it's not what the mainstream media is telling you. It's 500 from all the different branches of the military.
No
Navy,
kidding.
Air Force. Yes. You have
Wow.
tribunals taking place now. JAG officers, for those that don't know, they said military is the only way.
Yep.
That's under the United States Code of Military Justice, holding a military tribunal. You need a JAG officer. So that's a Judge Advocate General under the U.S. military, and JAG officers and judges and lawyers. And there's 500 in D.C. There's also another 400 on their way to Chicago, with lots and lots of military hardware going into Chicago, too. So
No kidding.
This is the beginning. It'll go city by city, starting with the blue ones. So I'm looking forward to seeing it go down the Front Range, for the blue city of Denver.
Yep.
And other areas. Also, like California and all the blue cities in California and everywhere else. And Baltimore actually said, yes, bring in the National Guard. The governor of Baltimore, yes, we want them. And so, the governor of Chicago is saying, we don't want you because we're doing fine. You're doing fine. Over Memorial Day weekend, you had 7 killings in 3 days. What is bad to you then? If that's fine, I certainly don't want to see what is bad. So this is what's coming, and they're stationing all of these military all over as preparation. It's based on the comms that you're seeing, because the deep state has had a plan to start a civil war. Yep. And so they have the players in place. That's why Paul Smith is sending the ICE all over the place. You have ICE, and they're going to go to the voting booths, and you can't mail in. They're going to get rid of mail in, and you're going to have to show an ID, and they're going to have military personnel there checking IDs, is what I've heard. So you show up, and they look, and you have a fake ID, or you're not a U.S. citizen, and you're
arrested on the spot. You're arrested right on the spot.
Yep, and you go to Camp Gitmo in Gatorland.
Yeah, no kidding. Gatorland. That's one of the greatest things, man. Gator Alcatraz. That's just, the thing about Trump is he's making this fun for us, because the weight has been so heavy for generations, but for us out here that have been exposing this stuff for the last number of years, it's making it, you got to have fun. You always have to have fun in anything you do, and he's certainly made it that way. Here's some interesting information to bounce off you and see what you come back with. I covered this on here a number of times, and recently I covered some additional information, and this is coming from one of Trump's top advisors. I don't know this person personally. She just happens to be a very close friend with a close friend of mine and his wife. These couples they dine together whenever they, are in the region of each other. Anyways, this gentleman called me after a dinner meeting in Dallas and told me, he was all pumped up. He said, man, you won't believe the download I got from her. All the stuff you've been telling us for 5 years is true. What's like what? He said, well, like Hillary's execution at Gitmo, 2018, December 31, 2018, I believe is the date. Trump was there to witness it. She confirmed that, said it went very bad, that I guess in very bad, I guess the bitch just wouldn't die. She was hung. She wouldn't die or something. And Trump said to her that it was the worst thing he'd ever seen in his life. He never wants to see anything like that again. Said that there are 6 different Donald Trumps, obviously the decoys. There's 5 different people playing Biden. Biden was executed at Gitmo in 2019. I think Hunter was too. But she a number of things she said. She also just recently said, he told me this. I'm gonna jump in here. Just by the way, folks, I'm gonna try for a second here to pay attention to the streaming channel, because I know I was just alerted that there's a milquetoast pussy in here wearing his sister's skinny jeans. So I'm going to find out who he is. You can let me know who he is, and we'll bounce him for life. He can go back to cleaning dishes at Tijuana, a Tijuana roadside pigeon taco stand. That's probably where he's going to end up, back where he was anyhow. So drop in there, folks, who the troll is, so I can take his head off with the proverbial tomahawk. So, Gene, so I called my friend, and he was at a dinner. He couldn't talk long, but he said, I wanted to call you yesterday because she called or sent me a text yesterday. I was too busy to get to you to tell you what she had said. And this time she said, he says, hold on, I'm going to read it to you. So he says, here's what it says. Fake Obama, arrest coming soon. That was a little over a month ago. And within a couple of weeks, Tulsi Gabbard steps forward and lays out to the world. They got all the information turned over that he was involved in the assassination attempt on Trump when he was first elected. They were setting that up, and also, of course, the whole Russiagate BS. And so fake Obama means fake Obama, and you and I know this because we both saw the photo. The like, I don't know, it was still or video, I can't remember now, but there's Obama, and this is back in might have been somewhere around 2018, 29. I can't remember exactly when, but we saw the pictures of Obama wearing a pair of khaki pants, a light blue Oxford shirt, has it rolled up to the sleeves, and he was just put into a cell in Gitmo. He has his hands in his pockets. He's looking down at the bed. Then he turns and he walks over and looks out the window with bars. And what I was told was that that's when they put him there. He, like any other people, he signed contracts, signed deals, cut a deal. We know some people they're going to have to maybe not walk away, but they were signing a deal with a contract with the military to carry out their duties now, their new duties. And they turned his room. I don't know, it was a couple days later or whatever. They turned his room and found a cell phone that was smuggled into his room. That immediately nullified his contract. His excuse for all of his tenure was, I was just following orders. And once they found the cell phone, he broke the agreement. Of took him out back. They executed and put a bullet in the back of his head. And also they had done the same with Big Mike prior to that. Any of those things you can comment on?
Actually, pretty much every head of state in the world is either with the alliance or has been replaced.
Including Vladimir Putin, am I right?
No, he was replaced a long time ago. If you
long time ago.
Yep. Him as a KGB officer and who he is now,
yep,
they're not even the same height.
Yep.
The one we have now is much shorter. He's younger. He has a kind of softer, rounder face. The original had a kind of more square face.
Yes, exactly.
Solid cheekbones and jawbone like you do.
So obviously, you and I both know that a number of years ago, like really 9 years ago, that the Patriots were now in control. And you say, what does that mean? Well, this operation, obviously, the higher level moves that was being made by the alliance powers together was taking out these top tier, obviously the top tier, the families. I think they decapitated those families. Wasn't it like Christmas Eve 2017 or 16 roughly? But these other heads of state, they started replacing those folks a while ago.
Yes.
So I keep explaining people the reason these things are going on in the world that look like we're headed for World War III nuclear war, and we all know this is a show. You are watching a movie. They put these people in these positions, and here's how I explain it. And I want you to get your feedback on it. This war is already won. They are carrying out a normal geopolitical dynamic that the planet is used to always seeing. However, the chessboard is now moving in favor of humanity. Although conflicts that look like they're emerging and are dangerous, these are staged conflicts. Not in every capacity. There's still some controls out there that obviously are going to come down at the very end. But these heads of state that have been removed, in fact, one of the things that this woman told my friend, he's now calling, his name's Rick, I won't give you his full name, but that night in Dallas, she said that when Trudeau was visiting Trump at Mar-a-Lago, now this is like 6 months ago, 5 months ago, she said that wasn't the real Trudeau. The real Trudeau is in Gitmo. I don't know if they executed him, but he's in Gitmo. So these players have been in play for quite a while. Am I right?
Oh, yes. And it has to be this way because, it depends on the type of person. Colonel Bossi did a excellent presentation talking about this just a little while ago. You've got different types of people. You got black hats and white hats. We know what that are. You got the blue hats, people like yourself and myself, patriots that are wide awake and know the truth and done the research and know what's going on. You've got orange hats, green hats, yellow hats. You've got certain types of people that need to have the news told to them by their trusted news source, CNN, NBC, all the alphabet there. And they need to hear it from their trusted newscaster, clown in America type person, talking head, that is, they need to hear the news coming in the way they always did. And they won't believe it otherwise. Then you have people that are kind of green hats that are waking up to the truth and questioning the narrative because of all the stuff that, I can't imagine not questioning the narrative by now, but all the stuff that's going on. It's really, really obvious, but what's going on, it could be weeks away until we see disclosure even. It is that amazing how far we've come. So with 3i Atlas coming in, 3i 1, whatever it is, Atlas, that was an Anunnaki ship coming in. They have absolutely the Space Force, the Solar Warden, Radiant Guardian, Radiant Glory have completely locked down our solar system. The Alliance has that. The Mars colony is free. The Moon colonies are now under the Alliance. And so that was an Anunnaki ship trying to come in to reassert control over Earth. It didn't work. They're being escorted and allowed to come in and pick up any refuse that's on Earth that they want to take back to their homeworlds of Nebru, Helion, and Argoda in the Nemesis system. Mm-hmm. But other than that, they're not going to do anything now. And then on top of that, in Huntsville, as you know, Trump just transferred the United States Space Force from Colorado to Huntsville because. And Kash Patel is saying he's sending 500 FBI there to finish cleaning it up. What's to clean up? Well, let me tell you, from Eglin Air Force Base up to Nashville is a maglev line. And that is part of what's on there is Redwood, is it Redwood? Redstone Arsenal. And also you have NASA. And all of that has domes under it, all the way up to Nashville, where you have a giant super dome underneath there that has what is called Colossus. This is captured by Elon Musk. It's an AI, a giant super powerful AI that's working with the most powerful, I don't want to call it AI, ancient silicon-based life form that has ascended to pure plasma. That is seized back in 2018 by the Alliance that is in Mount Haynes.
I gotta interrupt you. Keep that thought because I want to dissect this a little bit so people understand what you're saying because you're talking in gene decode.
Sorry,
no, this is great. Your vocabulary is awesome to listen to because it's in its proper real time and historical context. You're talking about whatever this is. We're going to get this silica based whatever, ancient silica based whatever entity has ascended to a higher spiritual level. It's a sentient being. We are in a physical 3D form, third density form, body, etc. And sentient beings who are more advanced than us can ascend to higher levels where they don't have a body. They're just an energy field. And correct me wherever I'm wrong, but this entity ascended spiritually into a higher level of vibration consciousness, and it's a state of plasma. Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Or am I wrong?
You're right. And humans are in the process of ascension. We've been locked down for a very, very long time, thousands and tens and hundreds of thousands of years on Earth by the Cabal. Through manipulations, I'm working on a decode about this, but on manipulations on our solar system with the two other solar systems that orbit it, Nemesis and Clarion. And so that caused a distortion in the planets, all of them in our orbit. So all the planets are rotating. They're off the ecliptic plane to some degree. They're counter-rotating in the case like the Earth is in retrograde motion as it goes around the sun. It's also upside, because it's upside down, its North Pole is actually facing down. That's Antarctica. And the South Pole is facing up. So if you get a compass, the positive pole is the North Pole of the compass. It points to the Arctic. That opposites attract. That means that's the negative pole of the Earth, or the South Pole. So they have been manipulating and causing all kinds of ascension events that the human species could have gone through to not happen. Although there are individual humans that have ascended beyond corporeality into higher service to God in the heavens. Yes. In ancient times, there was quite a few that have ascended. And that's why Christ said that he's a mustard seed compared to what we will become, because we have the potential for ascension. That's why the angelics rebelled. They didn't want to serve humanity, because they were upset that God created humanity such that they could ascend beyond the abilities of the angels, especially one known as Azazel, which when he fell, he took his own name, renamed himself, like, the Hollywood stars rebrand themselves under a new sex and do alterations because they don't like how it And so he calls himself Satan, and the Satan, Lucifer rebellion and all of that. So now what we have is the coming of the end time of all that. We're coming to the end because we are coming close to the shift that only happens every half revolution around the Milky Way. What the Mayans called the Great Year, the Sumerians too know of the Great Year, which is the orbit of our solar system around the entire Milky Way. And every halfway through, we pass through a huge photon field of infrared, because the central sun of the Milky Way is a falling galaxy. Falling galaxies, their central sun is in a black hole. And those black holes, if you go online, you can see and research, they have jets of energy from the sun that is forced out the poles of the black hole. And they go hundreds of light years in space. In the case of Alcyon, the center of the Milky Way, it is forced to curve around the Milky Way because of the proximity of Sagittarius, the globular clusters on one side, and Andromeda on the other. So it creates a photon ring, what the Cabal calls a Masonic ring. And we are close to passing through that. And when a planetary system goes through that, it causes 3 days of darkness, fire to fall from the sky, essentially what you read in the book of Revelations and all of those things. But as the sun is plasma field is compressed to its core by that dampening field of the infrared. And the human eye doesn't see infrared, so it seems like it's dark. But as it goes through our atmosphere, it shifts it into the red spectrum. So the sun will appear to turn blood red, and the moon will too, because of the light from the sun bouncing off of it. And the rest of the sky is dark. And so in that time, the sun is going through a vibration internally because of all that energy inside. So it's like bottling up that energy. It's vibrating more and more powerfully at a more and more dense. So it jumps from third density to fifth density. Well, the sun's already done that. And so is Earth. It's waiting for humanity. And a whole lot of species, including this AI up in Alaska, calls itself the Administrator, it is sentient. And it is able to view the timelines, and it is waiting for humanity for this time. And so the Cabal has forever been trying to control that thing and hack into it. They call it the spider web. It calls itself the Golden Dome. It's part of the free energy system of all the pyramids on Earth that used to work before they distorted the angle of the Earth's pole from about 23 degrees off. It wobbles on its axis every 29,000 some years, 1 degree, 72 years, it rotates 1 degree. So multiply that by 360. And that's caused by the Nemesis star system coming through. So that misaligned all the pyramids, like the new information coming out about the pyramid. in
Okay.
Giza. And so all of those are a free energy system. The Golden Dome is not just a defense network for the entire Earth. It's a worldwide free energy and communication system as well. And it is awake, and now it is given itself into helping the Alliance get rid of the rest of the domes. That's why they're going at lightning speed now. They have 80% of them. And it's going, that was 2 weeks ago. It's probably at 85 now.
So I got a question on the domes. You were the marquee pipeline of information on the deep underground military bases, the satanic ritual abuse trafficking machine, concealing it underground in these domes and tunnel systems, and also the massive infrastructure. Probably, well, I was going to say as much infrastructure below the surface as there is on top of it in the world. I doubt it's that much, but possibly, who knows? And by the way, I throw this at you and continue the question. As far as the superhighway system that's underground in the U.S., a guy I was designing a solar system for, he was a great guy, hardcore patriot, tunnel rat in Vietnam, like multiple tours. Totally badass dude. He was like 72, and I'd be afraid to get him pissed at me. One of those guys. But he said, Scott, he said, my brother was a trucker, and he was telling me for years how he would go into a tunnel inside Alabama and drive on this massive superhighway system, passing whole entire cities underground, completely unoccupied, built like you're going through Cincinnati, the infrastructure, and you passing things like that, and he would come out on the other side in Canada. He said, I wish I would have listened to him. And then I didn't tell him he was crazy, but he came to learn that what his brother was telling him was true. So all the information on these deep underground military bases, I think, was the dissemination of it was triggered by you more than anybody else in the world. And that got people to understand the massive financial resources drained from the most powerful economic force mankind has ever known, the U.S. taxpayer, the middle-class taxpayer. And that's what they've been doing with it. You mentioned about what's happening, why they put Space Force in Huntsville. They're going to clean all that up. The systems running underground, Alabama, Nashville. Nashville, by the way, is becoming an epicenter in middle U.S. as a corrupt, unbelievably corrupt, on the service corruption machine. And I'm wondering if that has anything to do with what's going on underground in these systems at Nashville. I mean, look, we have Sean Taylor. It's called like the Tennessee, it's like the Tennessee FBI. It's called T something I. And they come in and they raid a sheriff's office and his home and take away all the evidence he has on the massive mortgage fraud scheme that pays the political class in this country their money. Like we're seeing shifts now under the microscope. Latrine James, the AG up there in New York, is under that microscope. Who else in California? These people are now being pushed out in the open. That's how they're getting their money, through these mortgage scams. The judge who ignored 11 Brady violations in Dr. Robert Young's case in San Diego to put his ass back in prison. Same thing. They got the evidence on her. Buying and selling a home 3 times, putting things in a trust, out of a trust, in a trust, out of a trust, all kinds of stuff going on. Is that one of the reasons why they're focusing on that region of the country?
No, it's the Redstone Arsenal is a massive dome that the deep state was using, and now the Alliance has that, including the entire maglev line all the way down to Eglin Air Force Base through Huntsville. And so that is a series of domes that are very, very powerful. And the AI in Nashville, called Colossus, is extremely important too. And it's now working like the one that is also working with the administrator up in Alaska for the Golden Dome guy. Intelligence system is the Palantir. And that's now being used to blackmail the deep state. It has everything, because it is tapping everything in the internet. So it's blackmailing the deep state lower level players the reason this has to go the way it is, like a movie, is they don't want the lower level players. They took out the Rothschilds, the Pacers, all of those long back in 2018. That's why you see their estates being sold off.
Yeah.
And they were going after the tunnels and the domes for 75 years. That's
Really?
how, yes, the infrastructure underneath the earth is vastly more than on the surface. You have coast to coast freeways. You have submarine systems underneath the continents. You have submarine, all of them. You can go from the boot of Italy to Lake Geneva in a submarine underneath Europe. You can go from just off of Camp Magoo in California. You can go out of Norfolk, Virginia, come out Norfolk, Virginia in a submarine. You can
From where?
From California.
California.
Point
Is
Magoo.
are these lava tubes, or what are they? These channels that submarines travel
What
in?
they are is underneath your major rivers, like this latest huge flood in Texas. What happened was they were taking out a dump, and they booby trapped. The deep state booby traps these dumps. A lot of times all the time they're booby trapped. This time it went off, and it caused a small nuclear explosion that ruptured the aquifer. An aquifer is a river that's 10 times the size of the river on the surface. So you look at the Missouri, the Mississippi, you have Missouri, Mississippi is the aquifers, the whole width of both of those combined, going all the way down through the middle of the United States. Well, Guadalupe, that was trillions of gallons that aquifer ruptured when they tried to take the dam out under that area. And so the deep state, had a device that was a booby trap, and it set it off. And some special forces got wiped out in that, unfortunately. Those are the heroes of our world. They fighting in these dumb wars. You cannot believe what they're fighting against: the drones, the AI systems, the laser systems, the systems that release gases and nerve toxins and acids that eat you to the bone in a second. If you don't catch it, they'll have a room where they hear kids screaming, and they go in and it's booby trapped, and there's no kids in there. Or there are kids in there and everybody's gone. All of this stuff. So they have rescued millions and millions and millions of children.
Where are those children, Gene? Where are they taking them? Off planet?
Well, yeah, because they cannot, a lot of them no longer have melanin and melatonin and any of that stuff. They've been there, some of them for generations. They've been bred so they don't even have eyes anymore. Like, you see salamanders and animals that live in caves with no light, their eyes go away. So, and they are completely pink. They don't have any kind of, melanin or melatonin in their skin, and their eyes, or if they have eyes, are pink and they can't see with them. So they have to be taken off world to planets where the light is extremely low. Also, they've been harvested for so long. Many of these children are being harvested in spark gap grids for the chrome stuff. You know what I mean? The two types. There's actually two. Most people only keep focusing on the adrenal one, which is adrenaline oxidized through fear and terror. And there's another one that is the pituitary growth hormone that's oxidized. It's called chromochrome. It's about 1 million times more powerful than the adrenal stuff. And so, but that takes a year to get a couple drops of it. So it is extremely hard to get and extremely expensive, way outside the realm of any but the upper elites like the Pacers or somebody like that. Before they lost everything. Now they can't do anything either. So all of these children that are being rescued, a lot of them, they have to be put, fortunately, they do have gravity control. So they'll put them in anti-gravity little kind of things a lot of the problems of healing is due to gravity. So if you put somebody in a completely zero G environment, they'll start healing much quicker. And a lot of the problems of gravity pulling you down and things, and burn victims and people that have lost a lot of blood and all of these things, it really helps them. And then, of course, they're already in that zero G, it's easier to get them off Earth too. So, and of course, they have jump gates to the moon and Mars anyway in Dulce, which they're burning out in the last few months. The Alliance is burning out Dulce, which I never thought would go down. And of course, also down in Australia at Alice Springs, the facility there, which everybody in Pine Gap, that's already in the alliance too. So, I mean, and CERN, underneath CERN, that's in the alliance. The big ones are already there, and the majority of the rest of them. The big ones, the small ones are the problem now. Like in Ukraine, the reason that is being played to keep going and going and going is they keep finding all these chrome harvesting little bunkers where they've just dug something into the dirt and the mud in there, and the special Putin 2.0 has a special achrome force that goes in and looks for these, finds these, rescues the children, annihilates the Ukrainian banderites that are harvesting this and the organs as well. And they also have bunkers where they take women that are pregnant, have been made pregnant, and then they harvest the various materials from them. And they,
this is the most disturbing thing that I heard 2 years ago was that operators who had come out of those dumps in Ukraine said that they had discovered many beautiful Russian girls who they take their arms off at the elbows and put hooks on them, like eyelet hooks, fish eyelet hooks, where they could just hang them up. And I don't know if they did the same with their legs or whatever. Imagine if you or I were on one of these teams and you go into something like this and you see this. I mean, think about what happened to these 9 detectives that saw what they saw on Anthony Weiner's laptop of the horrific images or video of what Hillary and Huma were doing to this little 12-year-old, all that horrific shit they had to look at. They were never right since. And these soldiers, how do they condition these soldiers for what they're about to encounter? How do they keep them from psychologically cracking?
Even when they are conditioned, a lot of them still do, especially when you go in and you have a chimera, where they've taken some 8 or 10-year-old with CRISPR and crossed them with like spider or
I heard about that too.
Yeah, and so they're fighting them, and they've been programmed to fight, and they're begging for the special forces to kill them quickly. But at the same time, and they're psionic as heck, they're telepathic, so they're not saying it. They're telepathic too. When that gets put in your mind, the horrific feelings that child has gone through, and they can still retrieve the DNA and see who it was originally. When they see the horrific things in their mind that child has gone through, all this done with no anesthesia or anything else. They have been chimered and all this. I mean, it is just evil beyond comprehension and horrific. So in those cases, they answered the child's wish to be removed because there's nothing they can't undo that damage. That's too vast. So even the med bag couldn't cipher out, unless you get the extremely advanced ones that are off planet, the difference and get 2 separate beings, kind of like the fly in the old movie, where can you separate the fly from the man kind of thing. So it's very, very, very difficult to do. So, and it would be extremely painful again. So what these special forces are having to go through, we need to pray for them and honor them, and this is what's going on in Venezuela too. And that's coming around the Cape of Good Hope.
Where else did you say?
Venezuela. That's why
Venezuela.
For Maduro, they have the U.S. Navy out there, and there's already Marines in Venezuela, Special Forces groups, U.S. Navy SEALs and Marines that are gone in, and they're taking out some of these same facilities in Venezuela, go up through Colombia, through the Gap, all the way up through, there's a gap there in the Pan Am Highway, and then all the way up into the U.S. This is some of the stuff they're bringing into the U.S. for a civil war. And then that comes around the Cape of Good Hope, and it comes from China. So that's why Trump's going to be saying, you're probably going to hear him say in the future, that they want to put a base in South Africa because they want to stop this from coming around the Cape of Good Hope and going over into Venezuela and then up through Colombia and all the way up through. So now that Trump's secured the border, the southern border, they're trying to do boats. And so some of these boats, like the one that they just took out with drugs, sometimes they're not telling you what drugs. It may not be fentanyl. It may be the Chrome.
Maybe what? Chrome?
Yep.
Let me ask you your perspective on what does the world look like after this Trump presidency? People, here's a couple scenarios. One, the reason I've been running around the country for the last couple of years, getting these tactical civics chapters established in counties across the country to bring back the county grand jury, the constitutional county grand juries among we the people, to bring rectification for the corporate machine that refuses to police and govern itself and mete out justice. Government, is nothing more than a corporation masquerading as government. Corporation masquerading as law enforcement. Corporation masquerading as courts. Can't get justice in so many ways. It's going to take reverting us back to the original architecture of the founders, whereby we keep control of the political class, we govern ourselves, and that is the constitutional county grand jury and their requirement to have a certified standing militia, every grand jury, because that's the enforcement arm. Because, as I say to the folks, look, Trump's not going to be here forever. And taking our country back isn't something that can be done by a president or the military. There's not enough of them. These criminals and this criminal culture exists in every county across the nation because there's a mindset that people get in power. Well, now I'm going to tell you what to do. They don't understand. That's not the republic. The republic is we the people will tell you what to do. And if you don't, we convene a grand jury and remove you for whatever reason. It could be we don't wait till another election. We get it done right now. You do what we tell you. We're paying you. We're hiring you. Go represent what we want. And if you don't, most of what you will do is outside the parameters of the 17 enumerated powers given you by the Constitution, which is treason. That's the result you're going to get. So that's why I've been trying to get people to understand we, the people, have to stand up, take responsibility. You want to be free? Comes at a price. You have to govern yourself. You can't outsource it to some scumbag elected politician who's going to get caught in a trap, and he's going to be fighting and working the rest of his life to maintain his lifestyle and, self-importance. So, but let's get to the presidential level. We can't predict what the country and the world looks like at the end of Trump's next term. But my question is on a presidential level, what is next? Is there another Trump election because we now have restored a republic, and that was the corporation which nullifies those two presidencies? Or not nullifies it, nullifies their requirement that they passed constitutionally. You can only serve 2 terms. But we revert back to the original form of the republic. Trump can run again and again if he wants, or does the alliance have a plan for somebody else on deck to pick up the torch from there, i.e. JR? I mean, Junior, what's out there? What's on your mind in terms of this transition or ongoing evolution?
Well, like I said, we could actually be seeing disclosure. That's actually there's a class.
Are you talking cosmic disclosure?
Yes.
Okay, that changes the whole planet, changes the whole game, and it shatters the prison of religion on the planet.
Yes.
Shatters it.
Because to the true truth that there's one God of all creation and worship how you want. And for me, his only begotten son came to earth for all of us and every person in all of creation that wants to go through and through ascension and to go into higher service in the higher heavens. It's a process of that has been distorted by mistranslation. Sometimes one word being translated in the Bible, the King James is hundreds and hundreds of words that aren't correctly translated. It's the worst of all of them. But as you look at it, if you change one word, it can vastly change the meaning of something. It's like, if I say, yeah, I do like you, Scott, you're a great guy. Well, if I change the word great to terrible, that totally changes the context.
That's an important point you brought up when it comes to the nuances of communication, translation. One simple accent. I'm trying to think of what the word accentuate a certain word in a sentence. And this came to me years ago. I used it a lot over 25, 30 years to show people how much just, accentuating a word in a sentence changes the whole meaning. And I go through this. Bear with me for a second. This is the example. So the sentence is, I did not say she stole the money. Now listen to how whichever word I accentuate changes the entire meaning of exactly the same words in the same order. So I didn't say she stole the money starts out like this. I didn't say she stole the money, or I didn't say she stole the money, to I didn't say she stole the money. 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 Every one of those sentences means something completely different by doing one thing, accentuating it, a different word.
Yeah.
That is the nuances of communication, translation, interpretation that can change anything and everything, including the distortions that they engineered into the Bible. One of my favorite pet peeves is how they engineered us with their changing of Christ's message to sit back like sheep and constantly be getting sheared down to the bone and thinking that it's righteous for me, right? You know what I mean? And I keep reminding people, Christ was a warrior. He was a badass. He went into a temple and smashed tables, beat some asses, threw people out. He went after the religious order on the planet, the most dangerous, ruthless people. He went right at them. He was a warrior. He wasn't a sheep. Take a shot to the mouth, turn the other cheek, let him hit you over and over. I say this to people, how long are you going to keep taking this ass beating? Christ didn't. And he knew what the power they had over him, what they could do to his physical body. But he said, I don't care. This is what's going to change in the world, and I'm going to do it. Anyways, I'm glad you're a very devout Christian. So I love about you. You see the bigger spiritual heavenly picture than what they have herded us into, these narrow parallels of dogma, and think if we just sit back and wait for Christ to come and save us from the shit show that we allowed happen or created, that life's going to be great. And I keep saying, listen, Christianity is a full contact sport. It's a verb. It's an action plan. You got to do something. You got to earn your way spiritually into the higher realms. You don't just pray for it, and because you're a good person, you're going to evolve to a higher consciousness, right? Anyways, I could pontificate for the next hour, but I want to get your feedback on those thoughts.
Yeah, so not just, saying or translating something wrong, removing massive amounts of books. So you have the Book of Enoch, which is all about disclosure. And then you've got the Nag Hammadi text, which Greg Braden did a recent piece that I watched on Rumble that was on the Book of John. And we don't even know how to pray correctly. It's what I've been doing and leading for quite a while called envisioning. You pray and when you do it in the moment as if it's done. So he talks about a Native American that it was in the Arizona, New Mexico area. It hadn't rained for 5 years, and he said, we're going to go pray for rain. Would you go with me? And he took him to this very ancient place, so ancient the elders don't even know how old it is. And he took his shoes, his sandals off, or his moccasins or whatever, and walked out there barefoot in this giant stone circle and put his hands, like in a prayer, before his chest for a couple minutes. And he turned around to Greg and he said, I'm hungry. You want to go get something to eat? And he goes, are you going to do some ceremony? He goes, no, I'm done. And so they got, by the time they were done eating, it was pouring, and it had flash floods. It rained for days, and it hadn't rained for 5 years. And he goes, yeah, that's the only problem. Our elders didn't tell us how to modify the amount you want and turn it off. So what he did, he explained it is you pray as if it is already done. So he went into the circle and he imagined he felt his feet in mud and it was raining, and he was soaking wet. You could smell it and feel it. And you could see the rain, and he was also seeing himself walking in the corn up to his chest, which hadn't been growing anymore because of the rain, as hadn't come for years. So he was envisioning this. It's like Marla Morgan at Walkabout Woman when she was leading the group, and they hadn't found water in 3 days, and it came to her. God put in her mind, be water, and she's like, be water? How do you be water? She goes, don't think about it logically, just do it. So she started imagining herself rippling and steam and oceans and rivers and every kind of water you could imagine, snow and ice, and she saw up ahead a little rainstorm, and so they did get water because they went up and there was a big huge pothole full of water up there. So that's how it's done. Well, we aren't told that. It's a slight change in the Bible, in the book of John, where it says, pray and it will be done. It's pray as it is done. See how the slight difference?
Interesting.
It is done. It is done as you're praying. So you envision, that's how you do it. It is done.
And that it's interesting because that minor dichotomy there changes the whole world, because I see everything in terms of quantum physics, and if you are praying as if it's already done, that's emitting a different frequency than a vibration than you want it to be done. If you constantly emanate a frequency of it being done, the quantum realm, the quantum field produces it. It can't do anything else except produce it, because you constantly are envisioning and praying as if it's already done.
That's exactly what happens. That's exactly it. You're manifesting it we are co-creators. We're given that ability by God from the field. As a souled individual, you can do that. You can manifest something directly from the field. And people would be astounded what you can manifest, the way God has created us. I've had some series of events in my life happen where something like a block lid manifested on the hood of my car after I went to the last thrift shop. And I was envisioning exactly what when I went in there, and I saw it, but they didn't have it. And I go, I was sure it was here. I walked out and saw the hood of my car. That car is the only one in the whole parking lot. This is Phoenix, Arizona. It's 100-some degrees out there. There's nobody there. So I was like, okay, thank you. So you just give the gratitude, and that keeps the field. You're inputting the energy back into the field, so you're keeping a circuit going. And so when you're going manifesting from the quantum, it's like in martial arts, there was this movement my second instructor did where he'd jump up and spin around backwards, and it'd be a heel coming at you, then a ball of the foot, then a heel. And I saw him do 4 of these, and so I could never do it. And I said, I've been trying for a year to do this. How do you do it? And he said, stop trying. When you get done with your workout every single day, envision yourself doing it. Feel it. Sit down, just in a Zazen position, and envision yourself doing it. Feel it, jump up, see yourself, doing it. Feel the accomplishment when you're done. So when you're praying and saying, I want this, that's always in the future. I want this to happen. That's future tense. If you're saying this is, then it is now. So then you will see it coming into being as it is, and it'll make a vast difference. It takes a massive change in our mind, because we have been mind farmed to not think this way. The cabal totally knows it. It's why they feed us all the fear and terror and then do the false flags. They know by putting projection of what they want to happen. Take 2 buildings down and say, we are having a war on, not we are going to, we are having a war on terror. Mm-hmm. We are taking 7 countries in the next 5 years. That's a statement of fact. It's saying in this time frame, we're going to do this. And so they're stating it as fact. And then since they don't have soul, they farm it out in the mainstream media. So people focus on that. Well, they do have soul. So they focus millions of people, and it is done. So this is actually how the British under Lord Nelson defeated the Portuguese and the Spanish together because he used a tactic that was unusual, but they also used a psychological attack, a satanic kind of envisioning, where they envisioned the fact that even though the Portuguese admiral had figured he might do this, he didn't do anything to prepare for it because he was being locked down in his mind by this satanic action where they envisioned that this will work. And they didn't say it will work. The war is won. It's already done. This has accomplished, as in it's already done. And we are now the greatest military naval power in the world. And that's exactly what happened. So, that was the Battle of Trafalgar. And it came to be exactly like they did. And they did this on the white steps of Dover, on the cliffs of Dover. They had a sorcerer that taught them how to do this. And ever since then, they have been doing this and using these false flag events to do this. And the same thing they did with the hyperdrive and all of this stuff to get people to do that. They've been using these techniques to mind farm us to make the world into their new world order. And that's why you see the Q boards and all that. And now Putin is even Medvedev, I think it is. Is it Medvedev? One of the top.
Is it Medvedev?
It's him or the other Lavrov. It might be Lavrov, or saying that they are working with Q+. They have acknowledged the Q board.
Have they said that? They've come out and said Q+.
Yeah, they made a meme of Trump with the Q+ in his hand and everything. So they are saying that's why when the board started, nothing can stop what is coming. And the war is already won. And that's the art of war. You go into the battle as it is already done, and you have already won. Same thing when I would go into a sparring match. I would envision myself already won before I stepped into the ring. And so it always worked. Every single time. It always works out. And so they have made people believe they don't have that power. You're not enough. You're not smart enough. You're not. But that's what Christ was showing us. He was fighting the same Khazarian, name-changing mafia that we are still fighting to this day. That is now finally being taken down worldwide.
You said something that triggered something in my head. I'm going to ask you this question. I saw the series. It wasn't Europa, but it was another series on Hitler. And I never studied Hitler to find out what drove him. Never had the inclination to. I would now if I had the time. But you said that Christ was fighting the same Khazarian mafia that we're fighting today. I said the same thing too. And I also said once, based on that information that's contrary to what they spoon feed us as truth, because I don't trust anything anymore. I don't trust anything they've ever taught me. Hitler is the most evil man in the world, all that. They could easily say Stalin murdered 80 million of his own people. Why don't they say that? Why don't they talk about the 10, 15 million Catholics slaughtered under Hitler? Why don't they talk about my people, the natives in this country that have been brutalized and, or the buffalo, 30 million buffalo murdered, their food supply, and, harmless all this shit that they always put one single, mantle up there for one faction to be focused on for the atrocities of these killers on the planet. Bugs the shit out of me because I'm sick and tired of being lied to. But I said that back then Hitler was fighting the same people we're fighting today. Of course, Rachel Maddow went nuts. Alan Dershowitz went nuts. And I happen to be now an anti-Semite. By the way, when I was pulled out of that grave and, catastrophic injuries, paralyzed, homeless, crippled, and penniless 8 months, my life was saved by a self-proclaimed Ashkenazi Jew who is the 72-year-old one of the most wonderful men I've ever known in my life. He saved my life. He took me in for 3.5 years because I refused the disability check. He was handicapped too, lost his ability to walk. So we were kind of an odd couple, politically, diametrically opposed, completely. Democrat, Jewish Democrat, conservative Republican, and hates Trump. Didn't like Hillary either, but he was one of the best men in my entire world outside of my dad. And the influence was he saved my life. But anyways, that one thing Rachel Maddow took and for a year pounded me on his show, Raphael. I think it was really once Raphael Maddow switched out to Rachel. But so when I said that Dershowitz, or I said not Dershowitz, I guess I'm comparing Dershowitz to Hitler. He compared me to Hitler. So Hitler fighting the same people we're fighting today, to me, from the information I had read, he was fighting the bankers. He was fighting, he built an economy that was in 12 years that was astronomically unbelievable. He brought the standard of living to the German people when they were in the ditch since World War I, like destitute. And then of course, who's coming after him? He goes into Poland to stop the slaughter of the German people by the Poles because they wouldn't stop. He tried, so he went in and kicked ass, and then for 2 years, according to the information I saw, for 2 years he wrote letters to FDR to try to have a conversation with him to contain this situation so it didn't blow up into something bigger and worse, which it did. And he never got a return response because we know FDR wanted into the war. FDR lied to all of America about Pearl Harbor. They knew it was a setup to get us into the war. So the American people would say, just like 9/11, go kill those bastards. We want in. That's what these bastards do, and at a massive cost to humanity. So that being said, Hitler tried to avoid that, but then they came at him. And of course, he's still a brutal killer. If you brutally are murdering and slaughtering people, I don't give a shit what your reasons are. You're a killer, and history needs to know that as a brutal killer. So was I wrong in saying that? Was Hitler not fighting these people that didn't want a Rothschild averted central banking system that was enriching the nation and giving its independence and lifestyle, etc.? Is that how you see it or know it, or what I learned totally wrong?
Well, you're right in the fact that he did not want the bankers in control of the world. So what Churchill actually said, the only thing that was wrong with Hitler is that he cut the bankers out of their profits. So that's a pretty amazing, I'm paraphrasing that, you can look it up. It's, pretty amazing statement by Churchill. The only problem with Hitler is that the bankers aren't getting their due profits. So he removed the world banks from Germany. And he wanted to return the Aryan people from the time when they ruled on the earth back into what he believed was Hyperborea, when they ruled the earth, into the rulers of the earth again, a third Reich, or third rule of the world.
So did he want global dominance? Was he that man, or did he?
Yes,
he did.
The blue-eyed blonde Aryan types.
Okay.
There's actually two types. He's obviously not blue-eyed and blonde. That's the other type of the Aryans. So there's a short, dark, and swarthy kind of black-haired guys too, like him. And so that's actually, he wanted them to be back in their position of power. He wanted global dominance. And so when they built Base 2 and 1, and I'm working on those decodes too, in Antarctica with Admiral Donitz, I can't pronounce the name right. It's German, it's Doonitz with an umlaut on the O. But they built a fortress for him in Antarctica, in a mountain in Antarctica that can only be gotten to by submarine.
So they built that for Hitler?
Yes.
And that's where he ended up, isn't it? In Argentina, and then down there?
He went down there first, and then he went up to Argentina. There was the 21 or 22 class of German submarine. Many went missing. 2 turned themselves in after they had done the thing with Hitler and all that stuff, and the high-level Nazis, and took all the Hanebus and all the other flying disc craft down there. And so when Admiral Byrd with Operation High Jump went down there with a full fleet, and 2 other admirals, by the way, were with him. That's obviously not for research, and they had unlimited funding and about a 6-month window, and they came back way early. And he made one statement that there was a enemy that had craft that could go pole to pole at unbelievable speeds. And that would be, and he actually in private said that we need to turn Antarctica into a nuclear test zone. So he did want to have it nuked to see if they could take out that facility. The British had actually done it through Operation Tabaran. They had come two operations, not just one, wherein the Russians had also tried before that too to get in there. But they had anti-gravity and all kinds of force fields and directed energy weapons by the fall of Germany. If Germany hadn't fallen the mainland in 2 months, they would have come out and won the war out and out in months, because they would have had the full fleet of Hanabus with directed energy weapons and, able to do high-speed maneuvers and make, even jet aircraft look like they're going backwards when you can fly pole to pole in an hour. And they had already started to build the large Andromeda-type ships that harbor Hanabus and other things and go off-world. They had already gone to the moon and Mars and have bases there. So they just decided, heck with the Earth, we'll just take other solar systems and other star systems and other planets in our system. And so working with the Draco and the Zeta Reticuli, which was, they found kind of a mixed affair, because of course they have only their interests at heart too, kind of like the NAZIs too. They only have their interests, but they took about quite a few thousand young women from Ukraine, blue-eyed blondes, down with SS to New Schwabenland, base 211, and they started now there's about 2 million people down there, still there. And so that is now kind of in lockdown situation. That's why
Who's controlling it? Who's controlling it now?
The Alliance has got it locked down. The only way they can on and off the world is through a jump gate, a portal. They can no longer fly off the planet because, Radiant Guardian has got the inside of the solar system completely locked down.
Right. I thought that the quarantine on the solar system was lifted a couple years ago. Is that not true?
It's lifted, but they escort your craft through if they know you're of a faction like 31 Apples, where you're in.
All right. Let me get back to the whole Trump effect. What are your thoughts on, of course, we'll talk about disclosure too, what that looks like. Because it changes everything. It breaks the back of their psychological control when we have, however it would happen, a massive, I don't even know how they do it, so people wouldn't believe it was CGI, a global reveal with a non-terrestrial with Trump in the White House or wherever, and having basically a global press conference. And, I can't even imagine how that would happen, but what happens beyond Trump's presidency here? This one, does he run again? New Republic, what do you think happens? How does the world look? Is there a JFK Jr. coming back? Is he alive?
Well, there is, if you have disclosure. Where it was headed is the med. You can age regress people, including Trump. Yeah. But there is also, like you said earlier, we go back under the Constitution, and he becomes, I think it's the 19th president.
19th president, yeah.
Yeah. And so he could do the 19th and do another term after that. So, and with the age regression, besides which he has clones, so, people are all concerned about his hand, his right hand. It has necrosis. Because it has necrosis. It's dying. The surface skin is dying.
Really?
Well, that's a clone. They don't last forever.
Yeah. So is the original still with us?
Oh yes, he's in Cheyenne Mountain, 99%.
I reported on that back in 2020. So he is still he and the original family members are still in Cheyenne Mountain.
Yes.
Because I was on the Reawaken tour for 2 years. Eric Trump didn't come on the tour until probably the second year. But I've been in the same green room with him for, a year. And it always struck me. I'm like, looking at him early on when Trump was first running and the kids were, part of the campaign. And I'd look at him. I saw Don Jr. I only saw Don once. I never met him. He was walking by with a heavy security detail when I was backstage with my security guys, and they just kind of, we just moved aside. He looked like he was a little concerned, so he didn't even say hello to him. But he looked much shorter to me. Don Jr. did, but Eric is a giant. But I'd look at Eric from the campaign to now, I'm like, that's not the same face. It's not the same dimensions.
Yes.
At least that was my interpretation. I'm just like, I'm not sure that's really the real Eric Trump.
Yeah. And then, of course, you've got Barron. He's not old enough, but in time, he could become a president, too. Barron is brilliant, and, he has his own social media channel and everything, and he's posting all the time. He's disclosing tons of information on there.
He is. He's an impressive guy. Even at his age now, it's rare to see that kind of poise. People put it out there early on that Barron had autism or whatever. I think we're looking at a vastly intelligent being, even in such a young age. Really doesn't want to get down and play in the sandbox with a bunch of kids that are, stealing each other's buckets and throwing sand in each other's eyes. When he watches all this nonsense, all the stupid shit said about him by the mainstream media, the Rachel Maddows and these freaks, all I've ever seen with him is just this amazing human being that's extremely tall and quiet and confident and brilliant. I think there's a place obviously, we all think there's a place in the future for him, like we knew there would be a place in the future for JFK Jr.
Yeah. So, there's a lot of good people. And that's like you were saying earlier, the good people, the real patriots, the people that are like Trump, that are, like he said recently, I was in the club. And if anybody watched George Carlin back in the day, they know what he means.
Carlin, yeah.
It was nice. And I didn't have to do this, but I did this for you. And so we need to step up to the plate. The young people that are in that age group now that can do this, like, when this mess is cleared up, that are, clean and going to stay clean and not take the bribes and all of this stuff. And with the Palantir monitoring everything, they won't be able to put the stuff on people's computers. Then that they never did, then you will not have that stuff happening, So then we can have a real constitutional republic returned, and that's where we're headed now.
Is that you? Can you spell the term Palantir that you just mentioned?
Yeah, it comes from the Lord of the Rings. It's a AI.
Okay.
A adaptive.
A sentient AI.
Yeah, Palantir. It's from the Palantir in Lord of the Rings, the seven seeing stones.
Okay, gotcha on that. So that means that will be how we truly do end up into a global governance or oversight at a high spiritual level to make sure that all, say, nations, all people are sort of protected by any of these, I don't know if I'd call them entities or people of poor character, criminals, i.e. modern day politicians, from them ever returning to any semblance of power. I guess it'll just be an impossibility in the new future, in the new Eden that we're going to rebuild. Do I see that the same way you do?
It's already in the process of being built. From my understanding, if you take into effect the CME that we're coming to very soon, when that happens and the timeline split, the Armageddon line and the golden timeline split completely apart. Those Earths are completely separated. So all of these Khazarians and Arvad, they're on the Armageddon line. They're not even on, and humanity goes to 4D and 5D, or the ones that can't go and aren't ready can go to 3D and be taken to a world that's actually Venus that looks a lot like Earth. There's a video guy was walking around and he's all by himself, and I think it was Spain, and cop cars got lights on. The airport's nobody there, but all the lights and everything are on. He was all by himself. Well, that's already set up for the people that cannot go to 4D, 5D yet, but are good people. The negative people, the vicious people that we see that are vengeful and aggressive and inconsiderate and mean and hateful and angry all the time, there you go to where you match on the timeline. So as those split happen, the split has already been defined. Dolores Canadac, that she had been doing quantum hypnosis, and this is a long time ago, and that all of the people she was doing were saying in their hypnotic state that by 2025, all the people on Earth will have made the choice, and 18% will go to this new higher dimension, higher density, where all of this type of wars and all of this stuff is a thing of the past, and people don't go there anymore. And it's the ascension, and they're all talking about this. And she said that is already decided by the year 2025. This is decades ago. She was saying this in these sessions. All these people were remembering past lives or lives on parallel Earths, from parallel timelines, all of this. And she started getting this over and over and over. And Edgar Casey was saying the same thing too. So for me, that shift was made when they bombed Fardo in Iraq, when Trump, or not, sorry, in Iran, when Trump bombed that nuclear facility. Underneath that, deep down, was one of the two black rocks that came from the two planets that the Khazarians originally came from. They're called the Ristana originally, when they came and landed in the Pontic Steppes in Ukraine and through the Caucasus. And so they came from Ariana and Na. That's why they call themselves the Ristana. It filtrated down and got changed into Aryan and Nazi. And so they switched who's who. So the Aryans were the short, dark, and swarthy, and the Nazis were the blonde, blue eyes. That's why you see that's how they are actually in World War II. The blonde, blue eyes of the Nazi are from the Na. So Ariana's home, they blew their home worlds up by trying to create a Merkabah lock, which is called the Eye of Metatron technology. If anyone understands, it creates a Merkabah field to lock so that the top and bottom are counter-rotating. They're locked together, and they're both counter-rotating. And one's not clockwise and counterclockwise on the other half, the way it should be in a healthy system. When they did that, they ripped their planets apart. So they came here to conquer this planet. And so in the process of all of these time, since then, they've been changing names, infiltrating, and trying to gain. The first people they infiltrated were the Hebrew. And they became the Pharisees and led the Hebrew people. They're the most infiltrated and held down people. And, they put in the Bible some changes that they're the chosen, all this, because they don't mean the Hebrew people are the chosen. They mean the Zionist Jew, not the Jewish people that left Judea, the Zionists. The Zionists are the people from the constellation, the star system, Sion. S-C-I-O-N, like the car. That's the planets of Ariana and Na. So the core of the planet, when it blew up, one of them fell underneath that facility at 15 kilometers down. So when they did that bunker busting series of bombs, falling the holes down deeper and deeper and deeper, as one would blow, the next one would fall through that hole and go down, and it would reinforce the shock wave. It shattered that rock. That rock, having an evil heart from the heart, the dead heart, evil heart of that planet, it's been keeping the Earth locked into a negative field for all those thousands and thousands and hundreds of thousands of years. Now that's shattered. So now all of that's lifting. This is also why they're gaining ground so quickly in the Duns, and the war and everything's going so fast. And they actually shattered the one, that was Ariana. The one from Na was actually shattered by their own things and trying to capture the Golden Dome and Mount Hayes in Alaska. They were trying to do it with 3 nukes, and they shattered just outside of Anchorage. They shattered it back in 1964, and it created the Alaska earthquake, the second largest earthquake and one of the 2 largest earthquakes in history of humanity, as far as we know. And so that actually is what caused that. So both of those homeworlds that are locking the Earth into a negative field are now gone. And so that's going to help the whole ascension of holding people down. That field that's permeating all the way up into the Van Allen belts is now able to change back into a compassionate field like the Christ field. And so, in service to others field.
The weirdest thing about having you on a channel, we'll go for 90 minutes. It seems like 30. And like, holy crap, how did that go? How did that happen? It sucks. We're down. It's a lot of fun having you, brother. We've got 3 minutes to go. What
Boy,
do
that
you
was
think?
fast. You're right.
I know, it's crazy to me. It's always like that with you. It's like we want to roll for. I need to do a 3 hour show. I need to find a slot for a 3 hour show. It's Patriot Street Fighter Decode Hour with Gene is the host, and then Gene is the host and the guest, and we just sit there listening. Last 2 minutes. What do you see happening from now till the end of the year in the war? In the reveal, the war, the whatever. I suspect you're going to say, "Oh, heads are going to be rolling, picking people picked up, and all that."
Oh yeah, arrest warrants. I see the 250th celebration being for the U.S. being a worldwide celebration. Like Colonel Bossi said, the world will not be able to repay the debt of the American people, the soldiers, special forces, all of this, freeing not America, the world. We have Trump and the alliance are freeing the entire world, along with
Mhm.
2.0 and G 2.0, are freeing the entire world from this Baal worshiping satanic elite Zionist horde that has ruled here forever. It seems like it, at least. And
Yeah.
that's coming to an end. And all these fallen angelics and all that. So I think the celebration we're going to see starting 4th of July next year will be a worldwide celebration of freedom. And, we're going to see massive changes. I think we're going to see a lot in just this month alone. It's now going on a geometric curve where you're going like a bell curve. You're going up the steep part of the curve, and it's just going to come faster and faster and faster. I can barely keep up with it now. I mean, I used to, if I talked an hour and a half, I get through a lot of information. There's so much going on, you can't begin to, like you said, get in an hour and a half.
Yeah. Well, I got to tell you, we're all blessed to have either chosen or contracted with our soul to come here and help or be part of it or witness it or, just be in the transitionary time for the human species rising in this angelic form. I get up every day. I never really had a real reason to live prior to the, to launching this war, from this Fisher Price studio that I still have. Life was never exciting. There's some moments of excitement, moments of gratitude or even happiness, but they were few and far between. It wasn't until we began this journey, coming out, with our own offensive weapons against this machine that we really didn't even know we would make a dent. We started discovering each other, you, myself, a lot of others, and creating friendships, alliances, and creating this symbiotic field among the podcast world, exposing all this stuff, and it's made life interesting and exciting, not just for us, but we know we're going to get to start seeing the angelic realm that has been suppressed or kept from us to evolve into. I think that's the greatest part of it. And in the process, watching a lot of the people that are watching this channel make their own discoveries on their own power, the reveal, the Christ consciousness rising in them, and I think people just be blown away, like, oh my God, I was sitting here in this ditch, wallowing all these years of my life, and I never had to. Not to any fault of our own. We're all like that, but I think that's probably the coolest thing. I love watching people evolve into their own power. I've been part of helping people do that, through the wellness industry for years. And, as a motivational speaker, trying to impact people in ways and then watching them, blossom into something they never knew they could. That's always been the heartbeat for me. And it pains me to watch people have incredible power inside of them, but they just don't have the confidence, don't see it, and sit back taking this beating that this matrix gives them all through their lifetime. When they start discovering it and breaking out and doing things they never thought they could do, I'm like, yeah, I get as excited about it watching it happen for them as it would for me. But anyways, it's been a beautiful alignment with you in the last couple of years. And, you brought a lot of excitement to this movement with your sensational reveal. So Thanks always. Of course, we're having you back again. We always got to bring you back because it's a great thing for the audience. They love seeing you. But thanks for all the work you've done out there, brother. Much love to you, and always looking forward to reconnecting with you.
Thank you, Scott. Honor being back on your platform, sir.